Welcome to the regular meeting of the Richland School Board of Directors. We will recess into executive session until 6:30. Thank you. Welcome back to the regular meeting of the Richland School Board of Directors. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For our roll call tonight, we have 4 of us here. Bonnie Mitchell is excused and Tiffany Chen is also excused. And we will start with our recognition by the Washington State School Retirees Association.
Okay, I know you're not here to hear from me, so I'm just going to make this quick. Pleased to once again welcome and recognize our Retirees Association. It is my honor to introduce the association's president, Victoria Russell. Victoria's retired from the Richland School District in 2016 after a remarkable 44-year teaching career. She spent 24 years at Hanford High School, and prior to Hanford, she spent 20 years in the Chicago area teaching. So please join me in welcoming Victoria.
I'm fortunate that I still have my teacher voice, and I do not like to talk to people with my back to the audience. So that's the way it goes. We spoke to our students. So it's an honor for me to be here tonight. Thank you, Superintendent, very much, Redinger. And I'd like to thank our new secretary, Ruby Palencia, and then the members of the school board that are here. It is an honor. I am Victoria Russell, and I am the president from, this is my last time.
She said that.
I said that before.
Does she really say that?
2025 to 2027, and I've been a member of this organization for 22 years, and I'm honored to be the president of 849 members, all right? And we have what we call honorary members. Our oldest living member is 108 and still living in Montana. The second is 106 living in Kennewick, who just recently, in the last year, stopped coming to the luncheons. Then we have a birthday to celebrate. She will be 100 in July. And then the rest go all the way up to 90 to 100. So I'm really proud of those ladies, and I keep tabs on them. And yes, they're all ladies, I'm sorry to say, in this instance. But I was surprised that he looked up. I've been there for quite a while, and I enjoyed my time in the classroom. And I think one of the remarkable things today is meeting young people and their families go, "Are you Mrs. Russell? Did you teach at Hanford?" "Yes, I did." And I said, "Let me ask you, how old are you?" "Oh, I'm 33 or I'm 40. And I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm getting old," you know, as we get there with them. So I have taught students from 20 to 60. So I have 2 kids that are in their 60s as far as that goes. So basically, I enjoy being in the role of a leader because it gives me the opportunity to promote actions that I think are relevant to all people who are now in their retirement age, who are active, and active are people like you, ladies over there who are still teaching, but they still belong. I joined it when I've been a member since 2004. So I've been a member for 22 years. It's upon you. And so, and personnel and future educators. So everything is open to all of you. You don't have to be a teacher. You can be a bus driver. You can be, as our 3 superintendents of the districts belong, principals, secretaries, cafeteria workers, anybody that has worked within that school system. And we would welcome you with open arms. So if you want to join, just give me a buzz, okay? We respect and appreciate the governor's means of remembering retirees because we have all devoted our lives to education. Mine is past, yours here and now. And we will support you. And what our role will be as Ben Franklin School Retirees Association is to act as community partners always. At this time, I'd like to have a few teachers stand up who are with me.
Yay.
Come on. One, but that's okay. These 2 ladies represent, I know Jefferson. I remember Jefferson with Pamela. And how many years did you guys teach?
I taught 35 years. So, yeah, and then I came back and did 3 more years in substituting full year, and then I finally have to
Yeah. What about you?
I was at Lewis and Clark, first of all. Basically, Sunderland program. And have a son who's Down syndrome and the school district for 8 years. He's now going to be almost 50. And he talks about the school district all the time. He thought you had done something terrible when you tore the building down by the old building.
Jeez.
He wanted to know why you did that. But I taught, I mentored also for 10 more years with teachers who were struggling. And I think that's a valuable thing.
And you know, you can't give it up. I mean, even though I live in Kennewick, I do team read and I work with 3rd graders and 4th graders. It's a lot of fun. And I don't scare them, sir. I'd like to introduce my very good friend who has, between the two of us, we have kept BFSRA going. She is now, right now, the president of the Washington State School Retirees.
Oh, that's great.
Dottie Stevens.
Dottie.
We are one of the largest groups. And my background is Kennewick School District. I taught 41 years and principal years. And I was actually principal at school. And started out in Salt Lake City and moved around a bit. But, ended up 34 years. But what we find is we have a wonderful group. We just hosted, what did we have? About 69, 70 people on Monday for lunch. The state says, why do so many people come to your lunch? Hey, fellowship. We obviously have a very good time. And Walla Walla now has that many too. And we gave them our secret. And you know our secret?
Personal contact on that telephone. Come on, we're having a luncheon.
Telephone tree.
Thanks very much, folks. We won't take up much more of your time. Thank you. Thank you very much. Take another picture.
We want to have a picture
good,
with
I
the
hate this.
superintendent, but she's
Oh.
never, come on down. So this is working.
Yeah, we did a picture.
We have to have Dr. ready to read. I know we're very much.
Yeah,
We're
like-
going to
And we'll put you in the middle here, Shorty.
Yeah,
Jeff,
Shelley
you
Library.
And Jeff.
Look at that. We know each other.
I remember you when you were here, right?
This will be in the journal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
We will move on to our parent guardian advisory report.
Hello. All right, the Parent Guardian Advisory Committee met on March 16th at 6 p.m. in person as well as via Microsoft Teams. We wrapped up our discussion on Chromebooks and internet safety in the classroom and then moved into our discussion on alternative learning environments or ALEs. Several complaints were issued that Chromebooks are out of date and hard to use, reports of a high school student having to check out a different computer and having to carry 2 computers home because the Chromebook doesn't support PowerPoint for his specialized Microsoft class. Another report of a first grader not being able to get work done because it wouldn't load during class. Artificial intelligence, or AI, was brought up again with more concerns about teachers having to battle assignments being done with AI. Concerns were brought up with who is on the committee for creating the district's AI policy, and parents wanted to be able to be more involved. Then we shifted into our discussion on ALEs. We began by going over what ALEs are available in our district, which include Quest, HiCap, River's Edge, HomeLink, and Pacific Crest Online Academy. Paul Shaber and Tyler Reeser, principals of River's Edge and HomeLink, provided us with information on these alternatives to the standard comprehensive classroom. Concerns of parents regarding ALEs. A parent was concerned about their student with special needs having ALEs available to them. It was mentioned that HomeLink and other ALEs do not seem to have teachers who are trained to help with her child's specific needs. A document was submitted explaining a parent's situation trying to balance HomeLink and her son's boundary school so he could get his IEP minutes. HomeLink did not have a special ed teacher or staff to serve as case manager. The confusion that ensued ended up resulting in him missing over 600 minutes he was legally entitled to for his IEP, as well as him being displaced as they struggled to balance the boundary school schedule with his HomeLink one. She emphasized that kids like her son who are on an IEP are entitled to have their needs met by the school they are attending with their peers, including at HomeLink. We discussed how there sometimes seems to be a gap between parent satisfaction with ALEs versus standard comprehensive classrooms, with some parents being more satisfied with the ALEs. One parent expressed hoping the comprehensive classroom could adopt more hands-on learning activities like the ALEs have because they are so successful, and that a student shouldn't have to go to a different school or be a part-time homeschooled like in HomeLink in order to have access to these successful practices. A parent praised Desert Sky Elementary for focusing on helping the kids feel happy there. And parents were concerned that in the comprehensive classrooms, students are not learning the basics of handwriting and typing, especially at the elementary level. We have 2 parent recommendations for the RSD board regarding ALEs. The first is to make our district's ALEs more accessible to students with IEPs and special needs, provide training and certifications for the teachers, hire a specialized teacher at HomeLink to bridge the gap and help establish relationships with these students, advocate for their needs, and create a community for them. And number 2, wherever possible, incorporate more of the options that are available in the ALEs. For example, the myriad of classes that have more hands-on learning, handwriting courses, typing, etc., into the comprehensive classrooms. And then we have one question on the ALEs to submit to you for response. What resources are available to parents of students in comprehensive classrooms if they want to be more proactive at home without going to one of the district's provided ALEs? For example, are there typing or handwriting programs the district provides to students that the parents can access at home? Could a document or email be sent to provide parents with this information? Our next meeting will be on May 18th from 6 to 8. This meeting will be held in person and through Microsoft Teams, and we will be discussing special education, navigating IEPs, and inclusionary practices. Thank you.
Thanks, Kayla. All right, we will move on to our public comment period. This portion of our meeting is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board on matters within our jurisdiction. The board also encourages speakers to present written statements to the board secretary, who can distribute copies to all of the board members. Please keep your comments brief and focused on the issues before the board. We ask that all comments be respectful and constructive, and that the audience remain quiet and respectful regardless of your agreement with the viewpoints that are being shared. The board will listen to your comments, but will not engage in a back and forth discussion except to ask clarifying questions. Please be aware that comments regarding individual staff or students are not appropriate during this time. If you have a concern about a specific staff member, please direct it to the superintendent or discuss it with a board member privately. We set aside 30 minutes total for our public comment period at the beginning of our meeting and allow 2 minutes per speaker. We do our best to accommodate everyone who wishes to speak. So I think we had 2 people sign up online, and we have 1 extra that showed up tonight in person. Are there any additional ones to add, Jen? Oh, she did. 1 more? Great, thank you. Okay, so we will start with Heather. Oh, wait a minute. Heather Hadler.
Nice to see all of you. I'm going to raise this just a little. We are here today because we recently learned that Jefferson Elementary will be losing our PE teacher next year. We've been told this decision was made because enrollment is down and several sections have been lost. However, this also highlights the urgent need to reevaluate school boundaries among the downtown Richland schools. As you know, Jefferson Elementary serves the highest poverty student population in the district. Removing our trained PE teacher means our students will no longer receive the quality physical education instruction they deserve. Many of our students do not have access to extracurricular sports or physical activity opportunities outside of school for a variety of reasons. This decision means they will also lose equitable access to those experiences during the school day. The impact extends beyond PE alone. Other specialists will each be required to take on 5 PE sections in addition to their own specialty areas. They will be expected to plan for and teach classes in an area outside their expertise, while being left with fewer planning periods to prepare for 2 different specialties. Unfortunately, the consequences of this decision go far beyond physical education. Losing the PE specialist also jeopardizes our ability to provide art clubs, steel drums, Jefferson Gentlemen, open library time, and specialized art, music, PE, and library instruction for our life skills and structured classrooms. In addition, our school has spent years building effective MTSS systems. A critical component of that success has been our ability to hold data meetings every Friday, made possible because our specialists cover classrooms during that time. These systems have helped move Jefferson out of School of Improvement status and have significantly reduced the number of students needing intervention. Without this staffing support, we will no longer be able to maintain those vital systems that have directly improved student outcomes. We are grateful that the levy passed, and many of us worked hard to advocate for it because we believed those levy dollars would preserve exactly the kinds of opportunities and supports now being cut from Jefferson Elementary. We understand that budgets are complex. We speak often about equity, about recognizing and responding to the different needs of our schools. We continue to wait for the day when that commitment moves beyond words and into actions.
Thank you. Peggy Pilger.
The community recently approved your levy after being told it would preserve teacher positions, maintain manageable class sizes, and prevent cuts to student programs. Yet here we are, removing a fully trained PE teacher from the district's highest poverty school, where students have the greatest need for structured physical activity, wellness support, and enrichment. This cut was made despite the fact that the PE teacher and other specialists presented beneficial options. Let that sink in. There were other options and there are other options. But the district has chosen the most detrimental option. At the same time, the district continues to avoid a viable solution, reevaluating school boundaries. With Sacagawea and Jason Lee nearing capacity, boundary adjustments could relieve overcrowding and better utilize available staff and space at Jefferson. The decision to cut this position contradicts promises made to voters and further highlights the district's inability to make responsible decisions that positively impact students. It sends a clear message about whose needs are being prioritized, and it certainly isn't the children. This is not equitable. This is not responsible leadership. Start putting our children first.
Thank you. John Wirschke.
Good evening. I just have a question about the harassment, intimidation, and bullying policy. Now, I have copies of the policy and procedure here, and I've studied it, and I definitely applaud the effort that's gone in to write it. My question is more on the implementation of it. You see, I have a daughter at White Bluffs Elementary School, and she has a student that for the last few years has decided to make it his mission to make her life as miserable as possible. We've even requested from the school not to be put in the same class. However, this year, the school ignored us and put them together in the same class, and it's been a horrible year, to the point where even at this last parent-teacher conference, the teacher agreed with us that it'd probably be good if occasionally on Fridays we pulled our daughter from school for mental health day so she didn't have to deal with this child. However, this last Friday, the student threatened to kill her, and then later that day threatened to get a gun and shoot her. The school, as of yet, has not contacted us. When we dropped her off at school on Monday, the student was still in the class, and she was too afraid to go back to school, and so we took her home, and she has not gone back to school this week. Again, we worked out to the district. They're supposed to reach back out to us. Still have not heard from them. Students still in the class. My daughter's at home because she's too afraid to go back. And I'm just curious if we're waiting for her to get shot before we actually implement the policy. Thank you.
Brian, who would talk? Brian Jones, our assistant soup, will talk with you.
Very sorry to hear that. Sarah Egbert.
Hello, thank you for letting me speak. Hi, New York buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys just came back, right? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. His mom's amazing. She's really fun to hang out with. Okay. Good evening, members of the school board. My name is Sarah Egbert. I know many of you from the Parent Guardian Advisory Committee I was part of for a couple of years. I'm a parent of 4 Jefferson kids. 3 of them are alumni. Thank you. I'm here today to speak about this decision to cut our PE teacher from low enrollment numbers. I understand that difficult decisions have to be made, especially when resources are limited. However, I urge you to reconsider this particular cut because physical education is not an optional enrichment. It's a fundamental part of a child's development. I'm especially concerned because Jefferson is the highest poverty school in the district. And it's the only one I've heard of so far that's losing their PE teacher. It raises serious concerns for me as a parent who also works in the district. And I care very, very much about equity and providing opportunities for all students. Jefferson has students who don't have money for extracurriculars, and we know that, and that's a fact. And so they go to school and they get the opportunity to learn teamwork and resilience and PE skills, sports skills, things that will then carry them on for their futures. When you take away our PE teacher who is so dedicated and so enthusiastic and is there giving his all to the PE program at Jefferson, and you go and you place him in another school, we lose a huge asset and draw. And we're wondering why our enrollment numbers are low. It's when we lose things like this, these teachers who really care and make our school special in what it is. We have concerns about students' health, long-term health with less activity. When we're putting PE on the shoulders of our other special teachers and our other just gen ed teachers who haven't been trained and don't have a passion for this, we're going to see this program is just going to sink. It's not going to be this beautiful program that we have and that we love at Jefferson.
Thank you. That's your time.
Am I done?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Danielle Green.
Hi, I'm Danelle Green. I'm also a parent of 3 Jefferson kiddos and a strong supporter of public education. I'm here also to talk about the anticipated loss of Mr. Briggs, Jefferson's PE teacher. While I completely understand that staffing decisions are not directly made by the board is tasked with ensuring the long-term health of our schools. The enrollment issues that we are facing are not new. They've been declining for years, and it highlights a much larger issue that warrants our attention. Jefferson is not losing students because it's a failing school. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Jefferson is a strong, vibrant school with exceptional teachers, dedicated leadership, and unique programs that enrich students' experiences. Families who are part of this community know how special it is. However, more families in our area are choosing alternatives such as HomeLink, homeschooling, transferring to other schools in the district, or private schools. This is not simply a demographic shift. It reflects changing perceptions and priorities. If we continue to respond only by reducing staff and programs, we risk accelerating the very problem we're trying to manage. The loss of Mr. Briggs will have ripple effects across the entire school. Not only will he be missed, and he's a great teacher, a PE program without a dedicated teacher will suffer, and our students will suffer. Students will be asked to absorb additional responsibilities by trying to do the job of what's meant to be a full-time employee. We need to keep and create more innovative and engaging programs and opportunities that make Jefferson unique and a compelling choice for families. When we reduce these offerings, we weaken the very qualities that draw families to public schools. As a parent who has chosen Jefferson, I urge the school board to investigate the root cause behind the declining enrollment in Jefferson and find some solutions, like considering redrawing the boundaries so that we can up our enrollment. Thank you for your time.
And our last speaker signed up is Jessa. I don't want to butcher your last name.
Good evening, Board of Directors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you guys tonight. My last name is actually, it's pronounced Sakoti. It's a lot easier to say than to see. I value it and appreciate the time and the thought and the hard work each of you put in to supporting the education of our community from the ground up. I've lived in Richland for 12 years, and every time a levy has come up soliciting funds to be directed to education, my friends and I have voted yes. I'm here to represent my North Richland friends and neighbors. I voted yes for 10 years before I ever had a child that went to school in this district. I now have a kid in school. He goes to HomeLink, but we're in the Jefferson boundary. And I think that just because he gets the opportunity to go to HomeLink I recognize not everybody does. He loves what he gets to do, but all of the kids out there love school. They want to go to school. They want to go to PE. That's one of their favorite classes. And so I'm here to address cutting PE from Jefferson. On February 10th, 2026, we voted on an EP&O levy, and I voted yes. My friends and neighbors with no school-age kids voted yes. That levy said you had flyers that went out that said the purpose was to support student programs and services, including supporting student activities and athletics, and it was intended to help classroom teachers and support staff in instructional services. Sports support teachers and staff by giving kids increased blood flow to the brain, enhancing cognitive functions like memory, focus, and creativity. Regular exercise improves executive function. It's going to bring up test scores. That's going to bring up more money for your levies, because my property taxes are going to go up because my home's going to be worth a whole lot more if that school is worth more. So do your job. Make that levy work. Make it work for our kids, please.
Thank you. We will move on to our board student rep and superintendent reports, and we will start with Dr. Redinger.
Yes. So I can address that. So I know that right now our facilities committee has just started, and they will be looking at everything about our district facility wise in terms of boundaries that has come up. We just did the Badger one because of the new apartments. Hopefully many of you knew the reasoning behind that one. It's to Lewis and Clark. So I know those discussions are going to be happening within that committee, and in terms of looking at the whole district and where there's growth and where we need to adjust boundaries. And adjusting boundaries is never popular, but it's getting to a point where it's pretty necessary throughout our district, even with our middle schools as well. So I know that's part of those discussions that are going to be coming up. I do think too that we will continue to have discussions about the model moving forward and what we should do. I don't disagree. I think that someone teaching PE should have a PE background. And so we do need to explore the models that we're looking at and really take that into consideration.
We do.
So more to come on that. But yeah, this is not just Jefferson, and we like Lewis and Clark is really losing enrollment as well. So, and it's really our younger children. And so we'll just have to really keep an eye on that as we're moving forward. So more discussions on this topic, definitely for sure. I'd be really curious on other creative options that our staff could help with as well, as we're trying to balance budget needs, but of course students are first. In getting a well-rounded education that Richland is known for and the quality. So more to come on that discussion. Anything?
Do you have anything else for your report
Oh,
tonight?
yes, I do have some other things. We were able to go to White Bluffs to recognize our Rise Award winner. And it was really fun because we were all in the library at White Bluffs. And she had a really busy day. She just thought Travis and I were going to talk about budget. And she was like, I have to get stuff ready for the kids and all this. Well, we were recognizing her. It didn't have anything to do with the budget. It was all about her. So she came in and we all said surprise anyway, but it was really fun because it just showed how focused she is on the kids. So she is their school counselor. She transformed the Wolf Den into a welcoming space where students can take breaks and regulate their emotions. She guides our student council and actively contributes to monthly Character Strong assemblies. She leads the PBIS committee, and the whole staff at White Bluffs was so excited to have her recognized and everything she does for students. So again, really, I'm enjoying going out and Angie Gutierrez Marfin. So we have a picture and it's on the Facebook. Just a couple other things. I know that Hanford just got back from New York, so that's pretty exciting. And I just want to remind everybody about their very cool fundraiser they have. It's this Friday, May 1st. And so if you can attend, it's just a wonderful time. My husband and I love going to that event, and that's for music fundraisers. So I know I help support that trip. And so May 1st, it starts at 5:30?
I think might be 6.
5:30 or 6. And so anyway, I'm looking forward to attending that as well. And then we do have a lot of things going on. I do want to reiterate, we need to rethink how if the Salmon Summit gets canceled, it was not the district that canceled it, but if the Salmon Summit gets canceled, we need to have a district-wide approach. I think that's caused a lot of contentiousness, and confusion. So I have reached out to the people that organized this Salmon Summit that we need to be a part of that decision and come up with an alternative, even if it's just for an hour, that we go out and we release all of our little fish and then come right back. But I think it's really important that we are doing things together as a team. So just know that we won't allow that to happen in the future, that if the weather is really bad, because I know it was windy, but it's Tri-Cities. And so we need to have another alternative. So we'll be sharing that out and making sure that we do things as a whole district when something like that gets canceled. So I just wanted to reassure the board with that as well. Yep, I was not happy how that played out.
Great, thank you. Sinan?
So as she mentioned, about 150 Hanford music students went to New York last week, and we played at Carnegie Hall, which is fun. And there actually will be live music this Friday at the benefit auction, so I encourage you guys all to attend. It's really fun. And then currently students from Richland and Hanford are attending ICDC in Atlanta, which is like an international DECA conference, and a few people are already finalists, so that's great. And then last Saturday was Hanford prom, and this Saturday is Richland's prom. And then tomorrow is Richland's spring blood drive, and AP tests start next week. And then also I just want to mention that we distributed the SEL survey to all the high schools, and some of them have started giving the survey out to their students. We have about 400 responses so far, but we're just waiting for Richland. They're going to do theirs tomorrow, and we'll have a whole presentation with the results ready by next meeting. So
thanks.
All right, then for the board, really, Ledge Committee is meeting, WASDA Legislative Committee is meeting this weekend. I have Mr. Belisle's feedback to bring, and if there are other things to bring to the Legislative Committee, let me know before Friday. Well, I'll be here Friday during the day and then going there as soon as this meeting is done. That's it.
Oh, okay. Joe?
Couple things. I too just got back from New York. Different reason. What day did you guys perform at Carnegie Hall?
Whatever day last Sunday was.
Oh,
I think the 20th or something.
Yeah, I missed it by a week. I stayed right across the street from Carnegie Hall. Pretty cool. So I was in New York last week in regards to the grant that we got for our special education through the Urban Collaborative and the state of Washington. in spearheading 3 of our schools in inclusionary practices. In preparation for that, I went and spent the morning and most of the afternoon at one of our resource rooms, life skill rooms, kind of combined at White Bluffs, which was amazing. It fills my cup. It's truly incredible to watch those teachers and those students interact and what they can do and what they can bring forth and how we can really encourage those kids. So that was kind of the preface in heading to New York. So Enterprise, Carmichael, and Lewis and Clark have been chosen to participate in this process of going through inclusionary process. So we're working with Urban Collaborative, which that's what they do across the board, is help school districts do inclusionary models. But I think the most rewarding and really educational was we had the opportunity to tour several schools. We started in Newark, which is really interesting because New Jersey has a pretty high level. They rank 3rd, I think, in the country as far as education. And it was really interesting in Newark because they are pretty behind in their inclusionary practices. They actually still have schools that are independent. So they have an autism school, they have a blind school, they have all these different schools. So I think it was really eye-opening for our district, even just starting on those inclusionary processes, to see that we're actually further ahead than a lot of areas and even a lot of areas that have the higher education. Then we saw some in New York as well, which really did some amazing things. The interesting thing in traveling out of the state to see is sort of how backwards Washington is sometimes in our legislative priorities on education. And we see that on our funding models and some of the other things which lead to decisions that district administrators have to do with things that are occurring at each one of the school levels. And I appreciate everybody taking the time to share that information. But it's amazing how many unfunded mandates we have and how money doesn't actually end up going directly to enhance the experience of the students and to make sure that the teachers have what they need in order to enhance that. So that's sort of the whole progression of moving up. And I do think we need to have conversations about how can we be creative and what that looks like. One thing that keeps coming up, and this is a common occurrence across the nation as well, is declining populations in public schools. And one thing that they found is it is not so much that students are moving into other schools, homeschool schools or private schools. There's just not as many kids enrolling in education as a whole. Those numbers are dwindling. We do need to make sure that the schools that we have in each one of our areas have what they need, and we have programs that encourage people to come to those schools. So I think this whole process of learning and seeing, and our administrators going through and evaluating the funding that we're provided, what the needs of those students are. So know that we hear and we listen, and we really do want to have extra ideas and options on how to make things right. But we do also have to make sure that we're right sizing and taking care of the students across the district. So there's a lot going on, and it's really exciting when I can go see different things and then hear different things to help solve problems that we have here locally, because it isn't unique just to Richland. It's happening all over. So we need to get creative, and we really need to figure out how to work as a team to make sure that we can facilitate all those needs. So thank you. Thanks to you guys for evaluating and looking to see how we can navigate it.
Dan?
Yeah, I didn't travel to New York or anything like that, but I want to thank the staff at Enterprise Middle School for hosting the tour there last Friday, because even though I didn't go to New York, I'm pretty sure I had just as much fun right there at Enterprise. So
that's a good group.
So it was great, and I want to thank you, and that's all I have right now.
Yeah. Okay. I just have a couple of updates to share with folks. We do have student representative applications open right now. Sanan will be our senior rep this next year, and so we have applications open for the junior rep. Any sophomore in the district is eligible to apply for that. There is more information on the website, and those are due May 8th. And we hope to do the interviews and the selection by the end of May. So That is open right now and encourage students who are interested to apply for that. Also want to mention that this Friday, we have a special board workshop that will be happening from 1 to 3 p.m. That workshop is focused on discussions of the board about our superintendent search process that we will engage for this next year. So anyone who is interested is welcome to come and sit and participate and watch in that workshop that we'll be having on Friday. Okay.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay, I did want to do one other quick shout out to our junior ROTC from Hanford who received their national championship in radar challenges. That's a huge deal. We've only had that program at Hanford for, I think this is only the second year, isn't it? Is it the second year? So that's pretty impressive. They also placed in the cross country race for recovery and rescue. So that's a huge kudo to them. They worked really hard and did a really good job. And I also wanted to give a shout out to our FFA state championship. We've got some really cool things for kids in the district that I think sometimes we always forget to mention. So I want to make sure that we give a shout out to all those students that are working really hard in all different areas of expertise in the district. So
yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay, we'll move into the business portion of our agenda with our performance audit update. Dr. Redinger.
Yes, and so we recently had an audit on the ELC program, our Early Learning Center, and Julie McDougall and her staff do an amazing job. We just had a staff meeting there, and we've added so many slots. The staff has doubled in size, and so there's a lot of folks. But she has done an amazing job. The staff there. The audit reviewed the contract period of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. It was monitoring compliance with certain fiscal elements. So this was a fiscal audit, and she did an amazing job. We didn't have any identified action items afterwards, and there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of guidelines that the ELC has to follow. So we're waiting for just a couple more final notes, but they told Julie that she did really well. So she's very excited about that. And that fiscal part is critical. So Julie, if you're watching, good job, ELC. And then we just are finishing up. Travis, did they finally finish?
Not yet. We're, I think, waiting on just one more item and
Okay.
then it'll wrap up.
Sounds good. So, and then I'll report on that at the next board.
And that would be the state audit.
Yeah, the state auditors. Yeah. So again, big shout out to Julie and the ELC team.
Yeah. Any questions for Dr. Redinger on that one? Okay. Our next agenda item is educational resources and systems leadership.
Yes, so I'm on a lot today. So I this weekend had traveled. It was a very quick trip. Was invited to a convening of superintendents. It's called Educational Research and Development Institute. Superintendents around the nation come together and look at problems of practice and work together to come up with solutions. And so I'm really proud to be a part of this group. And there was about 1 to 3 superintendents per state. And we talked a lot about open educational resources and really working hard at the state levels to do more with OERs so we can focus our district funds on PD for our staffs. All of us have felt that districts spend too much money on the actual curriculum, and we don't have money for PD. And so from New York to Rhode Island, California, we were all discussing how important that is and how can we utilize some of the resources that teachers have created, states have created out there. And so we can focus more on PD because, for example, like the letters training is very expensive. And so how can we, as we get ready to do more adoptions, which I see Enid and Jen back there, making sure that we're utilizing our dollars. The percentage they were saying is the shift is 40% of the dollars on the materials and 60% on the staff development. And so a real shift towards that to really support our staffs. The other big topics on systems thinking that I came away with, and we're going to continue to be meeting. We have our next meeting in July. Screen time has been a topic. So this is a systems discussion. And some of the states, like New Jersey, they're looking at actually mandating at the state level, like only 30 minutes per day. And the staffs and the teachers, or excuse me, the teachers and students and the superintendents are very concerned about that in terms of that being mandated and making sure that we treat our teachers like professionals and allow them to use the tools appropriately. So just as we're having those discussions, I just think we're going to need to be really careful that we don't create more of a problem for our staffs. The other that we talked a lot about was AI. We had quite a few sessions and we had some experts come in and talk about AI and some of the pros, but many of the dangers of that. And I had mentioned that what we're hearing from our students and staff is the real fear about taking away the creativity and how to be creative and how to ensure students have that ability to show their creativity. And so again, a number of states are working on AI policies, and New York has one that is really coming to fruition. So again, as we look at an AI policy kind of to start that conversation in our state, have Richland kind of take the lead on that. We're going to have some good models throughout the country as we look at that. And again, tools for our staff so that it can help them do their job better, but we really need to make sure that it is supporting them. And there's a lot of concerns about the accuracy in terms of the information that comes out. So overall, it was a great, quick trip to Chicago. I got so much out of it. It was just really good to see what's happening in the other states. And then I'll be going to a follow-up in July and can report back on that. Mm-hmm. Any questions for me about the OER staff development?
I do. So for the open education resources, I know OSPI has a website with a lot of materials, and I think it's built into our policy now to review it. And when Rick Donahoe was on the board, he and I both talked about how, at least in our industry, we generate and use OER. So we generate our own sometimes, but we use a lot of open education resources because classical physics hasn't changed a lot since, at least at the high school level. Algebra hasn't, and things like that. And I know that our process has built into it things like, is it visually appealing and things like that. And OER in general is going to be something you can print from from a website or from things like that. So I think also part of our process is weighted against OER, and it will save us millions of dollars. The other thing is OER does not have salespeople associated with it and relationships and all of those things that make you want to buy a new car instead of buying a used car for half price. Those are things I think we need to take seriously given the budget issues that we're going to continue to face in the state. And I'd rather have teachers than pretty textbooks. I want good textbooks, but I think there's other ways to look at that. And I think we can improve in this area. So I'm glad you went and saw that.
Yeah, so much free stuff out
and there'll be, like I said, the follow-up in July. I'll have more information when we go deeper into these topics. Yeah.
Was New York willing to share their AI policy that they're putting together?
Yes.
Okay.
And the other, California is finalizing their screen time policy so that we can kind of look at that as well. New Jersey is the one where they're trying to do something statewide, legislative. So the more that for these types of things, even cell phone use, I think keeping the legislature out of it and letting it be local decisions is so important.
I can't remember what it was called, the conference last year, the year before. You were going to go to one of them. It was the AI conference that I went to, and I think they canceled the second one. But they have a pretty extensive rubric to go through and evaluate your AI policy. So they have one that's pretty extensive. And I know I had given it to, I think maybe Enid and Glenn. Yeah, she's nodding her head. So we have a pretty strong framework right now that kind of goes through and checks all the boxes. The biggest thing I think with AI, and Enid, you'll have to use the right word. What is it called when you teach your own AI? Like
You build prompts.
yes, where the information that's utilized in your AI facility is self-taught, so you're not open web. So that was a big portion of that in the AI. So I know that we've, as a district, have been talking about it for a while. And I think it really is becoming much more important for us to evaluate because it's becoming so much more prevalent. So we do have some pretty good tools already that we just, I think, need to bring back up to the surface again and start having those conversations.
Yeah, it's part of the policy discussions we're having. All the things you talked about are part of the things that we're including.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is good though to get a nationwide perspective.
Oh,
as well.
absolutely.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Let's move on to our annual high cap review and approval.
Good evening, everyone. So tonight I'm here to present to you the highly capable form package for approval 217. You received the board packet with all the information, and so tonight I just want to highlight some information and can chat. Is it the green one? Oh no, this one, the big green button. So the purpose of tonight is to provide an update regarding the implementation of the new SSB 5072, the Advancing Equity in Programs for Highly Capable Students, and also request school board approval and signature to proceed with the form package 217. So I wanted to incorporate an update with our implementation of the 5072 Advancing Equity in Programs law. In school year 23-24 was the first year that this new law went into effect. And the focus for that was to increase equitable identification and services for identifying students for highly capable services. And that included language around universal screening, including district accountability data for highly capable enrollment, and then language updates and clarifications. So further, this law ensures that all students have opportunities to demonstrate ability, bring consistency across districts, which, as you know, we are involved in the implementation of our program review with Whitworth University, and that's part of that work. Align highly capable education with basic ed expectations, and make identification more fair and equitable across our systems and our low-income multilingual learners, students with disabilities, highly mobile, and historically underrepresented students. So this law requires of us to screen all students in 2 grade levels, one in or before 2nd grade and or before 6th grade, utilize 2 or more data points within our identification processes, administer the assessments during the school day to increase access, and provide necessary accommodations. And so I provided for you here a side-by-side of how we are addressing that here in Richland School District. So our students are universally screened in 2nd and 5th grade, and we still maintain that open referral option for students in all off grades as well. So we collect those and assess them as well. RSD utilizes the following data points and measures. So the NNAT for the cognitive ability, iReady reading and math from 3 testing windows, the previous spring, fall, and winter. Smarter balanced assessments where those are available for the grade levels. And WIDA access progress where applicable. For our multilingual learners, we're looking at the rate of growth in their language acquisition. We also administer all assessments during the school day, and accommodations are provided in accordance to the IEP and 504. And what I'm really excited to show you is the outcomes of the universal screening just in the last 2 years that we have been screening our students. And so in this table, you can see in the 23-24 column and the 25-26 column. So the school year 23-24 was the last year that students were served or identified only through open referral. And so we were relying on teachers, students, families to refer students for screening and testing. And in the 23-24 school year, we started screening universally. And so I wanted to show that shift between the 23-24 and this, who is being served this year. So in spring of 23-24, the percentage of students who were screened as multilingual learners, special education, low socioeconomic status compared to who is being served in or screened for the spring of 2025, there's an incredible increase in the students that were screened in those areas. Also, students that were received new identifications from a result of that universal screening increased, and that brought our overall service and enrollment for highly capable as an increase, except for in our subcategory for multilingual learners where that went down just a little bit. I want to pause here. Any questions about this one?
I'm going to apologize before I ask the question.
No, you're fine. Please do.
So going back to your previous slide about the different ways that we evaluate, it looked like all 4 of them were through testing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just wondering if there's a possibility that we're missing some students who are very gifted but don't necessarily show that on the tests.
Yes. So through identification processes, highly informed by objective data points. And so where we can improve and where we can grow is how to include objective recommendations from teachers' experience and that as well, and other measures that can inform those decision-making processes.
I had somebody once try to explain to me how these systems sometimes identify more the high achieving instead of highly capable. And so I still don't see necessarily, how to catch some of those that are highly capable but are not yet high achieving.
Exactly. And that is the work that over the last couple years, our system has been engaging in the aligning with the shifts in mindsets and practices around identifying students for highly capable services, and that students may not be the highest achieving, but in the appropriate classroom where they're challenged and they have the resources and access that they need and multiple ways to access and demonstrate their learning, they just flourish. And so, in fact, the language and the law, and then in the WACs coming up, include potential. So how are we identifying and seeing potential? And that really speaks to, I think, the shift across our system, not only here in Richland, but overall, and where this work is really embedded in MTSS. And so when we are building a responsive continuum of services for students, they are able to access whatever they need when they need it in a really responsive way. And so that is the goal of our work. And again, really thankful and grateful for our partnership with Whitworth University to help us think through the how we can get there. And so as we continue to shift our mindsets of how we're identifying highly capable students and we're building capacity toward that, that's certainly something that we need to work on.
Doesn't the cognitive test focus on the capability of students?
So the cognitive is it's the nonverbal portion, and so there isn't the academic component, and so it really does lend itself more toward that problem solving, the spatial recognition, and so ensuring that we have that nonverbal portion, and that cognitive ability is a really integral part in this process too, because we're creating a student profile of a lot of measures where we're looking across various data elements to kind of help us. And it's messy and it's gray area and it's numbers and you're trying to make these decisions about students. And so that's why it's so important to have all of those different data elements. Yes, ma'am.
Do you think that MTSS will help us remove categories and labels where we will no longer have those areas of special education or those that learn differently? It'll give us the ability to just meet every student where they are, regardless if they're really high on this end or because one of the things in really talking about the inclusionary models and our philosophy as a district is all kids are capable of learning the same things if they're given the right amount of resources. So I think we're starting to get into that mindset of change and what it really looks like to meet a child where they're at. And, you know, it's interesting when you spend time in some of the self-contained rooms, which they're doing inclusionary, but watching the kids and watching the teachers, it's really no different than being in any other classroom and what they're able to do and what they're able to learn. It's just done differently.
Right.
And I think as we learn that what is normal or what is right or what is consistent or in the top of the bell curve, it changes and gives us the ability to get rid of all these labels and just make sure that our kids are achieving at a level that they should be achieving at. So as we change that mindset.
Yep.
So Enid, I have a question. At WASDA last year, we were also told that screening has to be done in their native language. So do we have the screening in all the native languages for the kids that we're screening?
So screening needs to be made available in the language where it is available. And so to the extent possible. And we do not currently have a universal screening measure, nor is there one really available in the span of languages. And that is a no need across the state and across the nation. And so in fact, we had a highly capable work group session this afternoon. And that is one of the conversations as we continue to kind of refine the language around the WAC is the how. And so where we have, iReady is available in English and Spanish, what that's measuring is different. And so that's why it's so important to have where we can the non-language reliant measures such as the NNAT versus the other cognitive assessments that do also rely on language. And we in Richland also include the WIDA access and how students are acquiring English language and the rate of the acquisition. And so to your point, there's work to be done across the nation, across the state around how to adequately and in a culturally responsive way measure our students' abilities within their target, with their home language.
Is there when it's Spanish though available? Do you think in our state that we could utilize?
So Spanish is available in iReady, and so the Spanish language.
Right, no, I know that. I'm just saying for when we do our testing.
We could look at incorporating.
Okay, that was because I'm thinking about maybe we do that in communications. We look at our top 2 languages because we know we can't do every single language, but at least our top 2. Yeah. So I was wondering like maybe Pasco might have a Spanish one.
We can look into
something to think about.
Yeah. Okay. So, and this is the distribution across our race and ethnicity subpopulations. And so we can see an increase across most of the board when we compare our 23-24 to 25-26 overall enrollment. And so when we're thinking about disproportionality and representation within the group, there's still work to be done there. However, this is really encouraging strides in the right direction. So factors leading to equitable identification practices are universal screening. So we're not relying on a referral from from teacher, parent, student themselves. We are looking at everyone, and we do not use a threshold cut score. We are looking across all of the data to see where we can identify potential, where something that is that looks compelling, where a student needs more, right? We are calculating local norms, and so we are looking at our students compared to the district grade level and the school grade level. And so we're not looking as much at that national norm because our students are being served here. And so how can we then align what they need to what their experiences are going to be here? And then significant training in equitable identification practices. And again, really leveraging time with our building high cap coordinators and our district staff to again, begin that shifting mindset, continue that shift of mindset of service identification, and then comprehensive student data profiles. And so how can we're only required to utilize 2 measures. We're looking at a more comprehensive view of students across our system. So our work is not done. We have next steps, right? And we've talked about some of them already. So ongoing improvement, progress has been made, but we are looking to increase access to early enrichment opportunities. And so this is, again, kind of hearkening back to our work with Whitworth and program review and the recommendations. And so how can we, in the earlier years, K2, really build on accessing advanced enrichment opportunities. And to Jill's point, across that MTSS system, not relying on an identification in order to serve the students in what they need and when they need it. Strengthening culturally responsible or responsive identification processes. And again, to the point of our measurements, and then to the extent that we can leverage WIDA and we can really improve those areas and continue to work with our state and national partners. And what is the how can we do that? And your work with legislators and the WACs is really helpful. You are our voice to what we need in order to bring this to fruition. And so your partnership in that is necessary and helpful. Monitoring data regularly to address opportunity gaps and refine practices. Oftentimes we stand in front of you and give updates on the achievement and growth, and we're talking about subpopulations, and we haven't to this point really included our highly capable program as part of that view. And so moving forward, that will be part of that regular review process. It had been reviewed separately, but if we're talking about an MTSS system for all of our students, that program needs to be included within that review process as well. And so you can look forward to that. Okay, so other highlights, professional development. We spent some significant time learning this year. And so OSPI held a 2-part advancement in enrichment, differentiation, and equity training in September and October. Our building high cap coordinators came and did that work with us. Those were half days each, and then we used the rest of the half day to plan. And we're reviewing our processes, our program, and how we can take that information and implement that into our practices. Many of the slides that you guys received through the WASA presentation were what we talked about in those 2 sessions. And so it was lovely to see that information come through when you shared it with us, because we were in lockstep with that work. Incorporating depth and complexity into instructional practices. Depth and complexity, as you saw in the WASA presentation, is one of the highest yield evidence-based practices that we can leverage for providing advanced learning opportunities for our students. And so we continue to offer that district-wide to any folks that would like to come and join us for our training that evening. And it is super fun. Newsella as a resource for highly capable learners. Newsella is one of our instructional technology platforms that really leverages ELA, social studies, science, writing, and is connected to our curricular components as well. And so as a supplemental resource, we can advance and we can support on both sides of that MTSS. And so how can we utilize the resources that we have to do more intentional work around what our students need? And so we provided that as well. And again, depth and complexity, part 2, questions, discussions, and Socratic seminar. So again, all of those are high yield evidence-based practices that we're focusing on and supporting our staff in. And then our middle school advanced course workshops, applying depth and complexity and instructional design. In fact, we have advanced middle school social studies teachers coming tomorrow for a workshop for their part 2, and super excited to welcome them and have them. And it has really been focused both in ELA, science, and social studies. What are their practices within their curricular materials, and how can we advance? How can we enrich? How can we incorporate more of those opportunities for the students in their classes? And so really giving them some attention and focusing some learning for them as well. So our PD next steps, again, related back to our program review, it's the development of that 3 to 5 year professional learning plan in alignment with the program review and our RSD MTSS goals. And then focus on equity, high yield, continue to build our capacity in providing those services. And so it's not just about the professional learnings that can get, how are we going to come back around, support that work moving forward and grow. And here's a couple of pictures of people learning. So this is our top left corner is our highly capable coordinator team. And then we've got our ELA science and social studies folks, our middle school. And then down the bottom right-hand corner, that was one of our depth and complexity Socratic seminar professional development. So on to like the kid stuff, the good stuff, right? And so one of the other things I wanted to make sure that we were highlighting is part of our grant support is enrichment. So Destination Imagination is supported through highly capable programs. And I reached out to Rachel Clayton, who is our incredible DI coordinator for the district, who supports all of the coaches and the teams and the incredible work that they do. And so our students engage in Destination Imagination. 22 teams across 9 schools compete at the regional tournament. Lots of opportunity there for learning, lots of creativity. After every challenge, students have a chance to receive feedback and reflect on their teamwork, problem-solving strategies, and creative approaches. And so a really great opportunity for students there. Another enrichment opportunity is Math is Cool. I want to do a quick shout out to Chief Joseph Middle School. And this is what Alexa Guidry, their advisor, had to say. So lots of opportunities here and lots to celebrate. So our students earning 2nd place, 1st place, going on to state. And she wanted to shout out Mr. Strasser and Mr. Tonkin for helping prepare students. They're their coaches, in addition to the students who are pretty incredible. And then a couple other shout outs here. We've got Lewis and Clark and Libby represented here as well. The highly capable program supports Math is Cool specifically right now. Carmichael, Chief Joseph, Libby, Orchard, Lewis, and Clark. Other schools do have math clubs and Math is Cool and compete. However, those are not supported through the apportionment at this time. So enrichment next steps is to expand more enrichment opportunities to all the schools, get more kiddos involved in those enrichment activities, building on the great work of Destination Imagination, building on the great work of Math is Cool. And then in the future, what are some other enrichment opportunities that we can offer as well? So not the apportionment specifically for approval, but a reminder, our deliverables by June are as follows: to review the highly capable apportionment allocations specifically that we're going for grant approval tonight. We have done that, and I am excited to share that Quest staffing will be reallocated from the apportionment to the general fund beginning in the 26-27 school year. And so as we're looking at our next steps in action planning in the 3 to 5 year plan, those things are made possible by this move. And so we're very excited to get to work on that. Which then is the RSD Highly Capable Services 3 to 5 year implementation plan in June 26th, and then the establish the RSD Highly Capable Cooperative Work Group. And so those are all in the works. That's not a green check mark, but a little check mark, because we're in progress, but we'll be there by June 2026. So my requested motion, district request school board approval and signatures for the form package 217 high cap highly capable program plan.
Thanks, Enid. Yep. Questions for Enid before we do the motion? I have a couple questions. I mean, I think, you know, the numbers that I see in the handout that we got ahead of time really show the increased enrollment. I think last year we had a total of 375 identified kids, of which 75 were served by Quest. We now have 450 identified and served in the elementary schools and 80 served by Quest. So I think it just reaffirms the need to be able to take this to the students at their neighborhood schools as much as we can.
Yes.
And to help with that identification. I think your slides were really great and really helpful. I think just ahead of time, if we could get those slides along with our board packet, that would be really helpful for us as well.
Sure.
Yeah, going forward. So. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a quick question. So, and this is probably an old question, and maybe we do it the same way, maybe we don't. I just want to make sure I have accurate information. So when we're testing, or when we used to test for the highly capable program, we required them to test at a certain level for both English and math. And then as those numbers grew, we increased the percentage that they had to get in order to be considered for that, the threshold. Have we made changes to that threshold, and how,
Yes.
and what are those changes now, and sort of how do we, and is it not both? So how does that work?
There is not a threshold. I know. So, and to your point again about the identifications and the limits and this, that, and the other, we're looking for potential, right? We're looking
back to meeting with the kid.
Exactly where the kid is and what they need and how best to serve the student. Along that continuum. And so thresholds are no longer in practice, not only in Richland, but by law. And also, there was a second part to your question. What was it? I was going to say.
Just the percentages that they had to
ELA and math.
Yeah,
right.
ELA and math. So if those thresholds are gone and we don't do that, how are we determining what kids are going into the Quest program?
So what we do is through the MSC process, the Multidisciplinary Selection Committee, they are looking at all of the second graders going into third grade. And so across the data profile, they are considering in their Quest recommendations, students that have the highest level across the board, and then rank ordering them. So a threshold does not affect an identification, and thresholds don't affect Quest recommendations either. It is just across the board, essentially overall highest, and then the number of seats that we have available.
Sort of how many boxes get checked in each one of the criteria of whatever.
Which is why building capacity at the school-based sites is so critical and so important, that we're able to serve students in their neighborhood school and meet their needs.
Yeah, but I mean, I think to a certain degree, you need to double check that process against the demographics and the data, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Because if you look at the overall kids that qualify and are served in the schools, Our Asian Americans are 10% of that population.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the demographics of our Quest program, they are more than 33%.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something disproportionate in terms of who is getting selected to go for that program versus everyone else.
And we looked at that from last year to this year and across the board. And two, where the law also requires that we identify low socioeconomic, multilingual, or students with disabilities. And so some shifting within that as well. Our incoming third grade served this year is getting to more proportionate than in past years.
Mhm.
So we're working toward that goal.
Okay. Yeah.
Of course.
That's good.
Yeah. And the universal screening certainly helps with that also, because we're not relying on referrals only.
Right. Yeah. We just want to make sure we have equitable access to that program and not preferential access to that program.
Yeah, just as a parent who's had 4 kids go through the schools here, and the oldest one starting out when we had the threshold stuff, I just say that from our perspective as parents, it's gotten progressively better as far as servicing the kids and in the schools and where they're at and stuff. So I think we've done a good job just over the years, getting better each year.
We're working on it. Thank you.
Yeah, this is great. And thanks for taking that on and really giving us detailed information on how we can better serve our kids.
You got it.
So can I get a motion to approve?
I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
Hey, look at we're all
okay.
All right. And we'll vote.
Yes.
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 Great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we will move on to our bond refunding review and resolutions.
Okay, so I'm going to show a slideshow to kind of discuss where we're at with our bond refund at the moment and provide the different statuses of the 2 bonds that we're going to try and look at refunding. And then there are 2 resolutions that we work in partnership with DA Davison and Foster Garvey. Foster Garvey was the one that created the resolutions, and a lot of this is all information that they're providing, and there will be 2 resolutions that I'm going to recommend that we approve. I do want to make the clarification and just confirmation that we are not locking into anything, any decision on the bond refund today with these resolutions. This is not saying go and do it and now our hands are tied with a refund. That could be good and that could be bad. And I'm going to kind of discuss that here in this slideshow. Essentially, one of those resolutions is putting us in partnership with the Washington State District of Credit Enhancement Program. And it's essentially a state guarantee program for paying bonds. And they have essentially a recommended savings amount that they provide for school districts and for those within that program. We have 2 bonds. One is going to be at the 2% threshold, and the other one is a recommended 4% savings. I'm going to show, so working with Corey over at DA Davidson, he provided me some data for some of his districts that show the Washington State recommendation and then what the board target, which essentially kind of authorized a school district to save, what they set those targets to be, and then what the those districts actually saved. I believe that was in your packet. Our recommendation is that we set the savings limit for both of the bond refunds at 2%. One of them meets that threshold. One of them is 2% lower. And this comparison shows that has been the case at some districts where they do go with that lower rate. And This is somewhat coming as a recommendation from Corey, but I think it's also something that we need to be looking at with one of those bonds. So the first bond we'll talk about is the 2014. This one is that recommended 2%. When Corey came and talked about bond refunds, he showed a slide very similar to this. Working with him in preparation for this meeting, he was able to provide me some updated savings, and this bond would be about a 3.95% savings right now. Or I'll say when he sent us this data last week. And what that would actually mean is about a $731,000, almost $732,000 savings for our public. The other bond is a 2017 bond. This is the one that has a recommended 4%. And we're saying potentially 2% savings, or setting that limit to 2%. Right now, the savings is not meeting that threshold, right? And so, as Corey mentioned, a lot of what's going on around the world is playing into interest rates and has a lot of bearing on the savings that we could get. And so by setting a 2%, we would not be refunding this one. Just something to be thinking about. Some districts will set a 1% and go for any savings that they can. That doesn't meet Washington State's recommendation. And I would say a 1% is 3% lower than what the state is recommending for savings on a refund. And it's one of those things, like when you refinance your house, you're not going to refinance your mortgage every year just because interest rates are getting better, because you have all these closing costs and whatnot. And so it's something to be thinking about as we have the conversations moving forward on whether we're going to be ready to commit or not.
We can only do this once, right?
Yes.
So in this case, when the recommendation is 4% from the state, and it's a 2017 bond, and we still have years left on that, would it make sense to go with that 4% and wait to see if we get a better administration that doesn't screw up the bond markets in a year or two?
I'm going to say I just wrote that question down. I do not know the answer. I'll follow up with Corey on
Less
that part.
snarky version of that is, should we wait 2 years?
Well, and so I know some of that argument is that every time we go through this, we do have to go through a full bond.
Go through Moody's, right?
With Moody's.
Yeah.
Correct. And from what it sounds like, and just spending an hour on the phone with them to do this is going to cost about $20,000 to $25,000. It's all part of the savings conversation that we talk about in this, but it's an expensive deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we can, I think the idea with trying to do both of these is if it is favorable, we can do that Moody rating one time and have that carry into both of the refunds. So that's part of the
that makes sense
pro list for doing both now. But then again, if we're saving $25,000, or if we're having to spend $25,000 to save an additional $500,000, then there we go. There's an answer for us too. And so I'll
sense
follow
for the
up.
14 bond, because we don't have as much left on a maturity on that. So a 2%
Our
on
date
the 14
on that one is running out too, as far as being able to even do a refund, because we're going to be paying that off in about 2 years.
So when does that run out, you think?
We're going to pay out, I think I was looking at that today. I think the last payment is not this December, but next December. It might be the following one.
We have potentially more to save on the 2017 than we do on the
Yes,
2014.
very much so.
What I'm suggesting is 4% might be, if we wait a couple of years, we have more time on that, we might save more money on that. And that's really a question for the guys who like doing math.
Let me follow up with him and see what he has to say about that, and then I can bring that back. I am going to be at WASBO on the May 12th meeting, but I'll be back for the May 28th, and I'll have an answer for that. And again, we can still go through with a 2% and then not pull a trigger at all to go on anything. So if
we approve tonight, can can we change it on the 28th if they say something like, hey, 4% makes sense? Am I saying?
We are approving a low threshold. Going back, we're just approving a minimum threshold.
Right.
We aren't stuck to that. And so if we went with the 2%, you can see this district had a 6.3. They didn't have to rechange the board target. And at any point, if the board's saying it's not enough, we don't want to go through, we don't have to change our board target to say, okay, we said 2%, it's at 3.95%. So I guess we have to go, we aren't locking ourselves in that way. We can still say, no, we want it at 4%. We're not going to, right? This is a minimum.
I'm okay moving forward like that. Would there be some kind of process then where you come back to the board mid-June or before we pull the trigger and say, here's what we're looking at. What do you think again? After we get feedback.
We will have other opportunities to say whether we want to do this or not.
Good.
Yes.
Thanks.
I get what you're asking. Yeah, no, we won't move forward until we have that full agreement that we're going to do the refund.
Yeah.
With the 1.91 savings right now, we'd be looking at $1.2 million. And that could be more. And so really it would be me working with Corey. I'll be seeing Corey at WASBO. I'm sure we're going to have conversations about this too. That May 28th meeting, we can present where we're at with savings at that specific point. The June 3rd meeting, I would say our absolute cutoff point would be a June 2nd. That way we can give them time to tell Moody's, no, we aren't going to go through with this, or go ahead and go through with it. And we'll be able to have those conversations at that May 28th.
So
May, whatever meeting that is.
As soon as you go to Moody's, I mean, we get a cost at that point, right? That's going to cost us money.
That is the point where we have a.
But how long does that bond rating that we get, does it have any sort of a lifespan? I mean, to where we could say we did this on June 3rd and it's obvious that rates are going to head down in the next month or so. I mean, does it have a lifetime to it, or do you have to?
Yes, it does. And it's not very long, because I know when we were talking about this, that was part of Corey's recommendation, is if we could get them both knocked out.
Isn't it two? I'm thinking it's 2 or 3 years. It's not very long.
No, as far as the actual having to sit with Moody.
Right. No, not that piece. Just how long does it last? The rating, actual rating.
We would have to get re-rated.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I guess my question was more about.
We would have to get re-rated in June 3rd. And then if we wait much longer, I think if we had waited to start this process again and go through all these resolutions again, like if we did 2014 and focused on that right now, we would do a June 3rd meeting with Moody's. And then at the 2017, when we go through the process again, if we did that in the fall, we would have to do Moody's again. It was gonna be long enough that we would have had to do that rating part, the reevaluation again. So I think that it's a very short window that
it's days, maybe a month or two, but it's not.
I think it's
longer than that
more like a quarter, like 3 months or 3 to 6 months. Somewhere in there is what my mind is telling me to remember. But I'm going to ask that question too.
Travis, where is the bond sale at? Is it in Seattle? Sometimes they like us to be there, or we could just be on the phone. Or...
No, so the rating itself would be
the sale.
Via phone. I will find out if that's done on the remote as well.
Thanks. Have you been to one?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really cool.
My guess is they've changed since I went to them. People were using phones, like phones, not cell phones.
Wow, you.
Okay.
We went to Seattle. bond sale?
Okay, so that is that part of the presentation. So again, there's two resolutions. Those are very, very, very long resolutions. Lee from Foster Garvey, Lee Marquisio, provided me some bullet points. I would like to just read those so that you can understand what these resolutions are talking about. So resolution 997, it's essentially, it is a preliminary step in the refunding process. And it's for the board to authorize participation in the Washington State School District Credit Enhancement Program, the quote unquote state guarantee program. And it's done via resolution. As authorized the Washington State Constitution and the state guarantee program, the state will guarantee the payment of the district's bonds issued to refund the 2014 bond and the 2017 bonds, which ultimately results in a lower interest cost to the district due to the state's higher bond rating. The resolution authorizes the district's participation in the guarantee program for the refunding of bonds and designates the district officials authorized to file an application with the state treasurer. Okay, so that's that first resolution. Resolution 998, refunding delegation resolution. This one, the bond delegation resolution authorizes the district to issue, sell, and deliver its refunding bonds to refund the 2014 bonds and the 2017 bond. The resolution authorizes the district to enter into a binding contract to sell the bonds to the underwriter and pledge to repay the bonds with excess property taxes. Proceeds, and so these are already taxes that are in place. As I read this, just for that clarification, this is nothing new. It's already in place. We're actually working to try and reset and provide savings on what is out there right now. Proceeds of the first issue will be used to purchase government securities to refund the outstanding 2014 bond. The resolution also delegates to the secretary to the board, the executive director of finance, and the assistant director of finance, each acting alone, the authority to approve the bond sale to D.A. Davidson as underwriter, provided certain parameters are satisfied. And those are listed in the Exhibit A of the resolution. And then the resolution also authorizes the district to enter into a refunding trust or agreement with the U.S. Bank Trust. U.S. Bank will hold the government securities on the district's behalf until need to pay off the 2014 bonds. And finally, the resolution includes the district's agreement to comply with federal tax and securities laws.
Any other questions for Travis?
Ready for motion?
Ready for a motion for 997?
Move approval of 997.
Second.
Move vote?
Yes.
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 Okay. Any other questions about 998?
Move approval of 998.
I'll second.
Okay, we'll vote?
Yes.
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 Approved.
Okay.
Thanks, Travis.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to our fiscal update.
Yes, so you'll notice in the fiscal update, this is our normal monthly update. I don't have a presentation done for this one. I am working on revamping how these documents can be accessed, and I would like to share a lot of really exciting information. We just need to make sure it works before I share everything that we're working on. But you'll notice that the documents do look a little bit different as we're transitioning to this method. Enrollment, kind of just following along the normal trends. One thing I was looking at, it's kind of neat to see how when you really look at the building levels from a head count to FTE perspective, FTE goes down, but head count stays actually pretty flat in comparison. And so we're not losing students. It's just the FTE, they're going, we talked about this last year. We're losing students at smaller rates, but that's that FTE. When we see those big drops, we're seeing it because of stuff like Running Start and other programs where we're sharing. We're still seeing, I think Katrina, you talk about, was it belly buttons?
Belly
or-
buttons,
Yep.
yes.
Yeah, the belly buttons are still there. It's just how long they're there is what affects the actual FTE. Provided a different look at the impact to try and show at the elementary level, middle school level, and high school level, the impact of reduced enrollment and what it does to our apportionment at those specific locations. So do we have any questions on enrollment?
I think one thing I did notice, Travis, is if I look at head count, there is a decrease of like 60 from February to April. So that is belly buttons. So do we know why we're losing people? Because I mean, that trend downward is really different than the other years.
Okay.
And it seems to be the same decrease as the FTEs. So that really does seem to be kind of following people that we're losing.
Sure. I don't have an answer, but I will follow up on that one.
I mean, otherwise, I think your reports are really great. I mean, I think you've got the format really clear, and it really helps me personally be able to track from month to month. So,
fiscal framework is different as well, a little bit more bold. I included a couple KPIs to further illustrate how we're doing as far as being on point with the component. This budget this year was not built on that fiscal framework, but we are still operating within the framework standards as far as the expenditure to revenue and the payroll costs to revenue. And then we're seeing really good improvements, continuing to see really good improvements as far as the other financial health indicators. In the looking ahead section, I do want to talk about how the state is solving their own problems by hurting school districts. They're making an adjustment because of some of the stuff they approved in legislation. Essentially, they need to do a budget extension and they're not going to do it. And so what they're going to do is they're going to withhold funding from school districts and LEA. They're making the full LEA payment this month. They're making a partial payment in May, and they have not communicated what the partial payment is going to be. The details on all this is still not there, other than there's going to be a partial payment in May. There's going to be no payment in June because their year end ends in June and then starts again in July, and there will be a makeup payment in July.
We get a charge of interest like they did us.
Right.
So actually, how does this balance their budget if they're actually taking it out of next year's fiscal money?
Well, it's that idea of when I come forward with our budget at the budget hearing, I'm going to ask for an approved appropriations amount, and we can't exceed that approved appropriations amount without doing a budget extension. I think that is what they're falling into with this, and so by not saving, they are staying within their budget capacity for this.
By moving
fiscal
expenses
year.
into next fiscal year.
Yep.
Correct.
Which is what
that
got the
works.
district into trouble a couple
We know,
of years
we
ago.
know,
Yeah.
we know.
Well, and the other thing that's interesting about that too is I believe the state operates on accrual basis accounting, which would further show that those expenditures should be in that year. But I don't know how it works for them. They're just withholding some LEA payments. It's going to affect us about $600,000. We should have $600,000 more on May 31 than what we will have. And so we are prepared. We're going to be fine.
Yeah, I was
We're
gonna
going to
say
be able to
emphasize-
absorb it.
yeah.
Fortunately, we have a fund balance.
We now have a fund balance.
Yay, Travis.
I had an interesting conversation about that too. Somebody was commenting about how low our fund balance is when you look at the general fund and the budget status report. And if you look at previous years, it was much higher, and that was also because we had a $10 million loan last year and up to this point, still $16 million in apportionment advance that was provided to us. And so when you look at this year as compared to last year, our balance is low. Our cash balance at the county is low. But you know what? We don't have a loan that needs to go out. We don't have apportionment advance that needs to be repaid. We are doing much better financially than we were at this point last year. So the district has made wonderful strides.
I appreciate your commentary section in the report on the LEA. You know, when we get these reports, I kind of skip through it to get down to your commentary to see if there's any surprises. And this month I saw, hey, there's a surprise. And so I saw that. I was kind of waiting for you to address it. Appreciate you putting that stuff in there.
I did change, you're welcome. I did change how I am showing the program buckets. Instead of the commentary that I had, I thought it might be better to do definitions. And again, with the idea that I'm going to be making some adjustments that the commentary can be dynamically found out. You can do a little bit more play in seeing some of these numbers. So more to come, hopefully. But if that doesn't pan out, then I'll include a little bit more commentary on where we were in past months. And but this explains those buckets a little bit more. And then I added in new definitions of the activity categories because I think that was kind of a question for a while as well. So do we have any questions?
I have a question. So I don't know if it was last time that you were giving us the fiscal update or the time before, we were looking at the capital fund. And we were talking about whether or not we were going to need to have a hearing to kind of repurpose some of that money. And then last meeting, we had the report from from Brad about the facilities. So I'm just curious about the timeline of when we might think that we might be having that hearing, because if we just think ahead of somebody that's going to go towards some of our facility stuff. Summertime might be a good time to be having some projects and such. So I wanted to know where we'd be on a timeline for kind of reviewing or having that hearing or whatever.
Sure. So I believe my recommendation would be to wait until our long-term facilities plan with the group that's working with the community to come up with our actual list of projects and stuff that we want to address. My recommendation would be that we wait until we get the results from that group and then have the hearing, because then we can have specific items that we can take in that hearing to say, we worked with Concertus to come and our community. We've identified these priority projects. We want to reassign bond dollars to these specific projects. We do have about $5 million in capital projects of undesignated funds that we are looking at some more emergent repairs that we are, Brad and Ken and I have been having conversations about addressing this summer. So some of the more emergent needs that can't wait, we're going to take a look at trying to address while students are out. And I'm going to say part of that is depending on how quotes and stuff come, we might actually be coming with a request for a budget extension in capital projects. Cynthia and I were actually talking about that today with the work that we're looking at potentially doing. We did not budget enough capacity in capital projects because we weren't sure if we needed to keep the fund available for a loan. We were still questioning whether we were going to be able to make it through. And so we didn't budget the capacity, and we're going to be able to spend some money. this summer, and so we might have to do a budget extension to take care of some facility needs this summer. So I think hopefully that postponement of the hearing is kind of mitigated with.
Right. Yeah,
with
I
the-
got you.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thanks, Travis.
Yeah.
Travis. We will move on to policy 3415.
Hello, yes, thank you. Policy 3415, accommodating students with diabetes. We're updating that to match the WASDA policy. Do you have any questions on that one?
I had no questions. It looked pretty straightforward.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any changes here that change current practice at all?
There is not, and the nurses reviewed it. There's two separate sections there, one for parent designated adults, one for parent designated adults who are school employees and when they're not in school employees. And so there's a little bit changed there. There's not any, we've been doing it that way, so.
If there are no questions, can we get a motion to approve for first reading?
I'll move for first reading.
Second.
And we'll vote?
Yes.
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 Great. And policy 3420.
Okay, again, updating this policy. It's on anaphylaxis prevention and response. This has also been reviewed by the nurses, and there's just a few changes to update, but other than that, it doesn't change our practice.
So one of the things I noticed on this one is that the text in the third paragraph in red starts with the plan. Which plan? So there is no plan referred to that I could see in the first three paragraphs. It just sort of abruptly says the plan will be distributed.
Yeah, it would be the health plan for the student. I want me to add that in there.
Yeah, we probably need to clarify what we mean by the plan.
Got it.
It's ominous.
The plan.
Because I couldn't find it.
The plan.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, does this mimic what the WASDA policy is? I didn't have a chance to look, but.
It does. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I think we should just clarify that.
Yeah, absolutely.
In there, yeah. Yeah.
With that clarification, I will move first reading.
Okay.
Second.
We'll vote.
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Thanks, Tori. All right, and then we are on to board discussion and old business. Is there any old business that the board would like to bring up for discussion? I think I would ask, we've talked quite a few times about an AI policy. I'm curious when the district plans to bring that forward, and
we have it on the agenda for May 26th.
Okay.
And then is there any way we could bring the New York model to the student superintendent advisory meeting next week?
Yeah, I'll bring the ones that I received. But we do have a good start on that, but that's when we had put it, 3.4 AI draft policy.
May 26th.
Okay. And are you going to distribute like the New York policy or other policies along with that for us to see? Or
we'll just incorporate some of the key points that are different within it. Because we do have a really good start. Enid's got a really, she's not here. Jen and Enid have a really good start.
Yeah, we just haven't seen it. Okay.
I know we talked about delaying another discussion about the technology usage and Chromebook usage, so we had more information that can be presented or whatever. It's not on any of our agendas coming up that I could see. I just want to make sure we're still making a little bit of progress there, and that we will get to it here eventually.
We talked about a meeting in June. Yeah. So we'll make sure it's probably going to be on the next one.
Right.
Yeah, good question.
Any other old business? All right, we will move on to consent. Does anyone want to remove anything from the consent agenda tonight? All right, can I get a motion to approve consent?
I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, and we'll vote.
Yes.
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 All right. So moved. So future agendas. Again, just reminding folks that we have the workshop on Friday from 1 to 3, the special workshop for the superintendent search discussion. And then we have agendas for May 12th and May 26th. Any questions about those or anything we want to add? Anything for the good of the order? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you. Boy, I thought that was going to be it.